What's up, guys? We got Smallville, Season 9, Episode 7, Kandor. Okay, so this episode starts off on Krypton, or Kandor. I think it's Kandor. With Zod's armies getting tested, and one of the people is like, hey, you gotta get tested, until Jor-El, played by Julian Sands, is like, no, you don't have to do that. And he's like, and Zod's like, you heard the man, go. Then we flash forward to current Smallville, and not current Smallville, but Smallville when this episode. So anyway, yeah. So we see Zod, and Zod's like, Jor-El came with us in the orb, and now he has taken our power and taken them for himself. And he goes to Tess and basically says this exact same thing, and he's like, hey, Jor-El is the red blue blood. It's the one you call the blood. He came into the orb with us, and now he has taken all the powers for himself. And Tess is just like, yeah, you're right. It is him, but we all know it's Clark. So anyway, yeah, speaking of Clark, Clark's like, oh yeah, Lois is just, after Clark kissing Lois just decided to go away or somewhere, and Chloe's just like, yeah, that's Lois for you. Well, when you do something, when you kiss her, or do something for her, she just jets off. So anyway, yeah. So yeah, so Clark gets like a distress beat. It's like a thing from a what is it? What's it called? Like from a thing. So we go to investigate it, and Oliver's like, why is your colors in the sand? And he's like, it's not mine. So then we see Jor-El, still played by Julian Sands, walking to Clark's house, and that's where Chloe shows up, and she's like, hey, your son is here. And he's like, he does not remember having a son. So she's like, yeah, his name is Clark Kent. He was originally named Kal-El. He's like, Kal-El, and she's like, Laura wasn't a part of the experiment, and she's like, oh, she didn't come with you? And he's like, no. And she's like, I'm sorry, but Krypton's gone. So yeah, and he's like, so then we get a flashback to Jor-El being put on trial, and he's about to be, executed or something, when Major Zod comes in and is like, hey, spare him, and the council is just like, yeah, we'll spare you, Jor-El, but you gotta create an orb. If Krypton is getting destroyed, if something happens in the near future to Krypton, you gotta create this orb to ensure that the strongest will survive or something, and Jor-El does create the orb, but he puts blue kryptonite in it. And Zod's like, hey, Zod's like, hey, here's like a hair that his wife gave him, so he's like, hey, Jor-El, will you bring back his son, who y'all know is Davis Bloom, who y'all know is Doomsday, former Doomsday, but he didn't know that he becomes Davis Bloom, and he's like, I'm sorry, I can't do that, and then Zod's like, then you're dead to me as my son is. It's just like, yeah, that's how he hates Zod. And so, back in the present day, Zod had, like, Jor-El, like, notices something, does, like, a little touch on Chloe to, like, knock her out, and basically just goes downstairs, and gets captured by the agents. And Tess is there, and she's like, hey, I don't want to protect Kal-El as much as you do. Zod thinks you're the Blur, you're the one zipping around the city as the Blur, and he's taken all these powers. And yeah, so Clark discovers that, so Clark can relay the footage of what happened with, Zod, what happened with Jor-El, and she's like, Jor-El didn't just knock me out, he sensed danger, and Clark's just like, it's Tess Mercer, so Oliver's like, and Clark's mad, and so Oliver's like, hey, let me go over there, Clark, you're too angry to deal with it, but Clark's like, I'm just gonna go there I'm just gonna go there, I don't care what you think, and just zooms out of there, so yeah. So anyway, so Tess tries to play dumb and say she doesn't know anything. The only super person she knows is him, and the only super person standing in front of her is him, and yeah. And Clark just had not, after she says that, hey, I'm glad to know that I'm the one protecting your secret. Clark just pushes her and basically is like, yeah, you're gonna tell me, so she's like, Zod hasn't been touched, she's beating him up, and Jor-El's like, Krypton's dead, and he's like, no, you're lying, how you know this, and she's like, because you must have learned it from someone or your son, and basically gets into a fight. And by the time Clark finds him, Jor-El dies in Clark's arms. But the last thing he says is, "Save Zod." So Clark buries Jor-El and says, "Hey, I know you saw Zod as a friend, but I've seen him, but I know who he really is." And who shows up, but who's standing right behind him, or right back from him? Zod. And that basically wraps up this episode. So I'm really back with this show. I know it's been like a long time since I've done a Smallville review. I know you guys have been waiting for it. And I'm back. I can say officially, Smallville is back on YouTube with me. With my reviews, it's back. I'm also excited for Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum's animated Smallville that they're going to be creating together. I'm excited for that. But this show is back, and I'm glad to see that you guys like it. So anyway, that basically wraps up this video. I really enjoyed this episode. And too bad that Clark's only interaction with his dad was his dad's death. And so anyway, that wraps up this episode. See you next time on another episode of Smallville.